A free electricity connection policy where customers were required to pay only 20,000 shillings for inspection was launched by government in 2018. In this arrangement, government is to cater for the remaining connection fees in a move aimed at increasing the number of power connections around the country.
My ministry has mandated the Rural Electrification Agency to implement the ECP. The obligation of government through REA under the ECP is to meet the cost of the no-pole and one-pole connections, while consumers pay inspection fees of 20,000 to service providers to facilitate inspection of house wiring, to ensure it is well done and safe to receive.
Government pulled the plug on the project last year after accumulating arrears to power companies caused by COVID-19 financial constraints.
Provides for free power connection to domestic users was introduced by government to address the challenge of low electricity access rate that previous policies had not addressed, despite having invested considerable amount of funds to increase power generation capacity, as well as expand transmission and distribution network. Government will also be handing over connection materials procured under projects with connection component, commission completed projects, and launch new projects countrywide.
The Energy Minister, Mary Chitutu, has today revealed in a press conference that government decided to resume the project after sorting out some issues.
And on also behalf of my Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, it gives me a great pleasure and honor to launch the resumption of the electricity connection policy that was established in 2018 but had to be put on hold in December 2020 due to financial constraints.
Last year, Umeme announced they had suspended implementation of the free connection project after running arrears that have not been paid by government for the connections they had so far made.
Government was in arrears for connections made by service providers totaling to 103 billion shillings. Cabinet approved an interim measure to temporarily suspend the implementation of this ECP with effect from 7th December 2020 to allow consumers that were willing to pay for their connections and had funds to do so and be connected in a timely manner, while those who had no funds were advised to wait for government to mobilize necessary resources.
The minister also added that government has released some of the money owed to it by electricity distribution companies as part of the free connection policy to be paid in 2 quarters. She said the 14.2 billion shillings to UEDL will enable resumption of the free election policy, starting with no-pole connections starting next week for all serving providers.
2021 releases, government has also allocated 14.2 billion to Uganda Electricity Distribution Company and small service providers to partly pay for already made connections and commence new connections on 8th March 2021.
When asked to comment about the same, the Energy Minister admitted that the power tariffs are still very high, but noted that this is brought about by the few connections.
Cleared the backlog for all the up-country stations. And it is now only the let's say the urban or the central, which will come in August. Now the economists tell you that if you want to lower the tariff, then have more people consuming power. We now have our production generation is at 1,200 megawatts, but we are only consuming 700 megawatts. That means 500 megawatts are not being consumed. And remember,
the resumption of the free election policy will be a sight of relief to customers whose applications had remained pending, whereas many others could not afford the connection fees that had jumped from 20,000 shillings to 720,000 shillings for a no-pole connection, 2.3 million shillings for a one-pole bare conductor, and 2.7 million shillings for pole with insulated conductor connection. Umeme for Select News.